Welcome to CFOF Unplugged. Today we're getting real about a simple idea. Tools don't transform finance. People do. Ready to get unplugged? Let's go. Last episode I told you about the 4%. The organization's actually seeing ROI from AI while the other 96% are stuck getting faster noise instead of real transformation. I told you the difference was coordination, not technology. Today I want to go one layer deeper, because coordination does not happen on its own. It happens because specific people in specific roles with specific judgment make it happen. So today's question is simple. If AI is supposed to transform finance, who exactly is doing the transforming? The tool was never the bottleneck. Here's what I see in almost every mid-market finance team right now. Leadership rolls out an AI tool. Everyone gets access, and leadership waits for the transformation to show up. It does not, because a tool does not have judgment. A tool does not know when a number looks wrong. A tool does not know which relationship in the business just changed. A tool does not know when to push back on its own output. People do that. And here is the uncomfortable part. Most organizations are rolling out AI faster than they are building the people who can actually use it well. Tools do not transform finance. People do. The tool just reveals whether the people were ready. Let's start with the data because it is more stark than most leaders want to admit. According to the Cherry Beckert 2025 Middle Market CFO Survey, 44% of CFOs say their tech experts lack finance knowledge. 40% say their finance teams are uncomfortable with technology. Read that again. Nearly half of finance teams do not feel at home with the tools they are being asked to use. And 58% of CFOs say a lack of internal expertise is actively slowing down their modernization efforts. That is not a technology problem. That is a people problem wearing a technology costume. Only a minority of finance leaders, by their own admission, call their teams fully equipped for what's ahead. Most describe their teams as partly equipped or not equipped at all. That is not a knock on finance professionals. It is a signal that the profession is evolving faster than most organizations are developing people to meet it. Here is where it gets interesting, because the answer is not simply hire more technical people or train everyone on the new tool. Aisling Harney, in her piece for OneStream's Finance 2035 series, asks a question that I think every finance leader needs to sit with. If AI removes the manual grind, how do people build judgment? For years, junior finance professionals built their instincts by doing the work, reconciling the variance, chasing down the error, building the model line by line. That grind was frustrating, but it was also how judgment got built. Now AI removes a lot of that grind. And Harney's point is not that this is bad. It's that judgment has to be built differently now. Not through who can build the most complex model, but through who can challenge an output, who can explain a driver, who can recognize when a result does not match reality. That is a different skill. And most organizations have not redesigned how they build it. They removed the grind. They did not replace it with anything. So what does it actually look like to build people on purpose instead of hoping they develop by accident? I see 4 things separating the organizations getting this right. First, define ownership before the tool arrives. Before you roll out AI, decide who owns which decisions, who reviews the output, who has the authority to override it. If that is not clear before the tool shows up, the tool just makes the confusion move faster. Second, redesign how judgment gets built. If the grind is gone, you have to intentionally create the moments where people build instinct, mentorship, cross-functional exposure, deliberately asking someone to challenge a model's output instead of just accepting it. The data backs this up. In the Cherry Beckert survey, one respondent described creating a mentorship program using cross-functional workshops specifically to strengthen collaboration and knowledge sharing. That is not an accident. That is a deliberate design choice. Third, blend your team intentionally, not reactively. 71% of CFOs in the Cherry Beckert survey plan to train their existing teams. 61% still plan to hire. 17% are using outsourced talent as a bridge. None of those approaches is wrong. The mistake is doing all three without a plan, reacting to gaps as they show up instead of designing the blend on purpose. Fourth, treat capability like a roadmap, not a one-time hiring event. The skills finance needs are still moving. Data fluency, systems literacy, the ability to work alongside AI rather than around it. That is not a box you check once. It is a capability you build in phases, the same way you would build any other part of the finance operating model. Let me connect this back to the framework. People is the dimension at the center of this conversation, and for good reason. You cannot skip straight to technology and expect people to catch up on their own. Strategy has to name which judgment actually matters. Not every decision needs the same level of human oversight. Strategy defines where judgment is non-negotiable and where AI can run further on its own. Process has to create the moments where judgment gets built and tested. If your workflows do not include a moment where someone reviews, challenges, or explains an AI output, you are not building judgment. You are just building dependency. Data has to be trustworthy enough that judgment has something real to work with. You cannot build good judgment on top of fragmented, unreconciled numbers. People end up second-guessing everything or trusting nothing at all. And technology only earns its value once the other three are in place. The tool amplifies whatever foundation already exists. If the foundation is a well-built people blueprint, the tool accelerates good judgment. If it is not, the tool just accelerates the confusion. Here is where I think mid-market finance teams actually have room to move faster than the enterprise. Large organizations are trying to retrofit a people strategy onto structures that already have years of habits baked in. Mid-market teams can design the blend on purpose right now before those habits set in. Closer relationships between finance leadership and the team make it easier to identify where judgment is thin. Smaller teams mean a mentorship model does not require a formal program. It just requires intention. The question is not whether you have the budget for a large talent strategy. It is whether you are willing to be intentional about how your people build judgment, instead of assuming the tool will build it for them. If you take one thing away from this, AI does not transform finance on its own. It reveals whether the people around it were ready. Tools do not build judgment. People do, and only when the organization is intentional about how that judgment gets built. The 4% I talked about last episode are not just using AI differently. They built their people differently first. So here's the question I would leave you with. If you rolled out AI across your finance team tomorrow, do you know who owns which decisions and who is responsible for building the judgment underneath them? If the answer is not immediately clear, that is where the real work starts. Thanks for listening to CFOF Unplugged, where we are redefining finance one conversation at a time.